All right, Congress passed the Capper-Volstead Act. It was considered landmark policy, enabling cooperatives to exist. Many consider that to be the hallmark of Senator Arthur Capper's career. As you look back, or maybe as you look into the future, Pat and Dan, what do you believe your legacy will be to cooperatives and to rural Kansas for years of service in Washington?
Well, you know, I mean, I'm a big fan of cooperatives. I do a lot of work in global food security now, and I've been to Africa a couple times. Pat's daughter worked for the World Food Program in Rome, and I was in Mozambique and Tanzania, and they're trying to develop their agriculture so they can be self-sufficient. But I did not see a lot of cooperatives anywhere, and there's just no question that one of the great strengths of American agriculture has been the ability of farmers and ranchers to band together for marketing purposes, for sales purposes, for purchasing purposes. And it's one of the reasons why American agriculture has been historically so strong, and it's had a spin-off to all parts of agriculture, not just those cooperative movements. And so, you know, you can't build a system of agriculture without joining with others. So there's no question that cooperatives have been, you know, historic part of this effort. And I think my legacy from now on, I would say, as opposed to what I've done historically, is to try to do my best to help the rest of the world develop their agriculture so they can develop their economies, so that they can become big purchasers of U.S. Goods and manufactured items, and they'd be more politically stable. And there's no question from what we've learned in America that cooperatives are a key to success of agriculture around the world.
Pat?
I don't think I can add too much to that. I guess in terms of legacy, I've always tried to be very supportive of the cooperative effort. I mentioned at the outset that while the Kansas Co-op Council is 150, my goodness, and all across the country, doing great service to agriculture that couldn't be provided in any other way. So we'll just keep on, and I know that they'll be strong, and I'll try to do likewise in Washington.
All right, thank you. All right, softballs are over. We're going to get into some tough stuff now. The new Farm Bill is stalled in Congress. It's passed the Senate, passed the House Ag Committee, their version has, but it hasn't been voted on by the full House. It's stalled. The current legislation will expire in 3 weeks. Who is to blame?
Well, Dan is pointing at me. I'd like to think that it isn't a matter of blame so much as sort of a imperfect storm that has gathered about us. It's like, you know, passing a farm bill is always difficult, a real challenge for us. And especially today, when an awful lot of members of Congress basically have no kinship, really, or understanding of the vagaries of modern-day agriculture. I think okay, I'm back. This is like pushing a rope. I remember in '96 when I was the chairman over in the House, and basically that took us over a year. And I know Dan was downtown at that particular time. And, President Clinton vetoed that farm bill twice. And then I remember, going to the White House for another matter. That was when Republicans were invited to the White House. But at any rate, I went to the White House, and the president came up, tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around. He said, "I'd like to have a picture. Would you mind?" And I said, "Well, for goodness sakes, Mr. President, no, I'd be flattered." So we took a picture, and he says, "I just wanted to thank you in the job of passing our farm bill." And I remember, Dan, I talked to you about it afterwards, and I said, he had me completely flummoxed. I was very proud of the picture, and I went out of the White House and said, "Man, that was really something." And I got in the car and said, "Our farm bill? You vetoed it twice. Come on." Well, that just is an indication of how long it takes sometimes when you're making a real substantial change in agriculture program policy. And so it is true that the House, I think, would like to see some greater savings in regards to nutrition. That's 83% of our budget. The House also has a target price program, which I'm quite frankly not in favor of, out of committee. But I think the House, I don't think the leadership on either side wants to bring up a farm bill that's not going to pass. So I think you have to stop and think about it. Or in the Senate, obviously food stamps, that's the red line for the majority there, the Democrat majority. So you got to work these things out. Now, we got the dairy program. Colin Peterson, who is the ranking member over there, he favors that. Deborah Stabenow, of course, does everything she can for specialty crops and has been a good chairman to work with, chairperson. And then you got Roberts, who insists on, crop insurance. And then you got, Frank Lucas from Oklahoma, who there's some southern crops like to have a target price. Well, even without all the politics involved, and that really is what's driving this right now, it's going to be very, very difficult. And I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to double down again when we go back into session, see if we can't get something done. But I have to tell you, there's going to be, the Marines always say, take the hill. Well, we're going to try to take the hill, but we'll do the best that we possibly can. We'll keep fighting. Right?
Well, first of all, I think Pat has to be complimented. I mentioned this before. The basic chemistry of Congress today and the government is just not very good on anything. The debts and this is just a symbol of the issue. And there was a story written in the National Journal which talked about how the Senate passage of the Farm Bill was just like an unusual thing happening, that people would actually be able to get together and work the legislative process like it was supposed to be. And Pat and his colleague Debbie Stabenow and others did that, and Pat led the way on crop insurance, and I think having crop insurance as the heart of the bill is the right thing to do, given the volatility of agriculture and weather issues and everything else. But I'd say just two quick things. One is the dysfunctionality of our whole government, in a sense, is a problem, and that's without pointing fingers at either party right now. It's there, and there are a lot of causes for that. Second of all, I think you have there in the House, at least, there are a lot of the newer members, mostly on the Republican side, who just really want to see the government out of everything. And one of those things is agriculture. And so I think you have to deal with the fact that there are a large group of members who just want to be part of this continuing coalition that's there. Third of all, the economy has been bad. The number of people on food stamps is higher than ever in the history of the country. It has to do with the poverty rate. And so, there's no question that the Farm Bill has carried the nutrition title, and some people don't like that. They want to see those programs cut. I don't think you can pass a Farm Bill without having a coalition that includes the nutrition side of the picture. So it's made it very tough, and then we're in a presidential election year. So but I don't think it's over till it's over. I agree with Pat. My own personal thing is an extension of the current Farm Bill is a bad idea. I would prefer them to, if they were going to extend it, if they had to extend it, they should extend it for a very short time and not for a long period of time. And then you have the whole issue of livestock and drought assistance. That's kind of all part of this particular battle. I'm not in the middle of it. I think Pat has done an extraordinary job in a